Thank you for joining me for Discussions with Dena. I want to remind you that on November 5th, 2022, that will be next Saturday, there will be a reparations rally in Washington, D.C. regarding reparations for descendants of slaves. There's a short commercial here, and then we will continue the conversation from Friday night. Thank you for joining me. Mr. Tim Maynard Jones.
That's me.
Hello, Mr. Jones. I just want to thank you for coming up with the idea to do a commercial to support the White Supremacy Forgiveness Hotline Network.
Oh, that's my pleasure.
We will be calling you in about 5 minutes, give or take, okay? So just prepare. Thank you so much, sir.
You are so welcome, her lady. Maybe I should sing it. I'm a good country music singer. I think that's what we should do. Don't you think so? I think that's what we should do. Let's sing it.
Um,
You know I like my chicken fried. Cold beer on a Friday night. Pair of jeans to fit just right. And the radio up. Well, I was born in the shade of a Georgia pine. It's home, you know, sweet tea, pecan pie, homemade wine, where the peaches grow. In my house, it's not much to talk about, but it's filled with love and grown in southern grind, and a little bit of chicken fried. Cold beer on a Friday night, a pair of jeans to fit just right. With the radio up, I like to see the sunrise. See the love in my woman's eyes. Feels like some precious child. And what a love. It's funny how with the little things like that means.
Mr. Maynard Jones, we're ready for you. We're ready for you now.
Hello, I'm Tim Maynard Jones, and I want to tell you about something that is guaranteed to unite America, put us back on track to living up to our creed. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that, my fellow Americans, is the foundation of white supremacist forgiveness. That's right, FFWSL. It helped me, and now I'm on the road to getting forgiveness, and so can you. All it takes is for us to pay our portion of reparation due to the descendant of enslaved blacks in America. Your payment will be used to build land, establish schools, homes, factories, hospitals, and so much more, while creating jobs that will help build the black nation of black people that was devastated by the white supremacist laws and actions. And guess what? It applies to current and former future people with the white supremacist ideologies and practices. So help stop white supremacists in America and start processing of reparation and forgiveness. Give them a call today, the White Supremacist Forgiveness Hotline, and let us start healing and forgiveness. And remember, you can expect forgiveness and you can start reparation called 24/7, 24 hours a day. White Supremacist Forgiveness Hotline. We're uniting America one reparation at a time. I'm Tim Maynard, signing off.
We are coming to get our check.
Welcome to Discussions with Dena. I am your host, Dena, and this is part 2 of our conversation. Are Black politicians speaking up for Black issues and resources? And we're discussing reparations. This is part 2. Take a listen.
We need well, it's just justice. It's just right. Reparation is just right.
So that leads to my next question. So do you think we should be participating in the voting process even though reparations is not on the agenda? Should we still be voting? Do you think that is a wise thing to do?
No, I don't think it's a wise thing to do. What I think we should do is we should build a strong voting bloc. Just like, and I still think it's pretty strong, just like they did in 1995 at the Million Man March. That was a strong voting bloc to where you bring your people together with the same ideas, the same agendas, and you create this strong voting bloc to you where you have the politicians coming to you. Just like they go to other ethnic groups, they would come to you, and they know that you're so strong to where you can make demands on the politicians. To where if they don't follow those demands, they know that you're not going to put them in office. But that's kind of like at the end, you know. But that to get that, we have to have unity. Because we're kind of, you know, some of us are Democrats, some of us are Republicans, some of us are independent, but we all got the same problem. We all got the same problem, but politically we're split. Religiously we're split. Economically we're split. You know, you got the rich, the middle class, and the poor, but still as a whole, we're still at the bottom of the totem pole. But as a people, we're still split. We gotta come together as one. And then once we come together as one, we can make demands on the politicians. Now, right now we're not that strong. So right now, I don't feel, now this is just my belief, I don't feel that the vote would count as much. It's almost as if all votes are diluted because of our division. And even though we got the same problems, all blacks have the same problems, our vote is diluted, it's weak. Because it's in 3 different parties right now. But if we was to come together around our issues, black issues, and we would have the power then to demand anything from the politicians, even the white politicians, we would have the power to demand anything from them. But yes, I do believe that reparations should be at the top of our agenda. But you know, I believe that some of the politicians, you know, they said the old acronym that fear is false evidence appearing real. I do believe that our politicians have fear because they understand exactly who's in control. They understand this, and they have a real fear that if they spoke to black issues, the real boss would step up and take charge and put them in their place.
Okay, so we heard what Tavis Smiley had to share about not electing the first actual black president. What are your thoughts on that? Have we not? What do we gotta look forward to here?
Now I understand what Tavis was saying. Tavis was saying that we didn't have a real thoroughbred. What I mean by a real thoroughbred is a black man, a black woman, with black features, black parents, a black mother, a black father, black grandmother. That's what Tabitha was talking about. Black.
Full black experience
The full black
in
experience.
America.
Barack Obama, America could stomach Barack Obama because of his shade, because of his education, and because of where he come from. You know, white mother, black father from Kenya. You know, it's almost a slap in the face like, look, we're giving y'all a black man, but it's not a black man from y'all. So, I understand what Taffy was saying. You know, Barack got a pretty big nose. And he played basketball. But that's not the black man that Taffy was talking about. He was talking about one of those black men that got off of that ship in 1555, one of those ancestors.
That's right.
A black person that come from that ancestry. That's what Taffy was talking about. And that would be the true black president.
But do you think we would ever see that in our lifetimes?
You know, we might not see it. Now this is just my personal opinion. We may not see it in America as America is structured right now. We may not see it that way. But I do believe, it's just my personal opinion, I do believe that the ideas in America is almost like a powder keg. You got too many people in this melting pot, and all of them want justice. All of them want justice. Because it's inherent in all people. They want justice. But some people, once they get in certain positions, you know, and they got all the power and they start distributing the power. And some people saying, look, they start distributing the wealth, they start distributing resources and stuff of that nature. And some people say, look, you're not giving me enough resources for me to survive. And then other people are saying, well, you're getting too much resources. When they got 100 pounds of resources, you got 3 pounds of resources. The one that with the 100 pounds of resources is telling the one with 3 pounds of resources, you got too much. And the one with 3 pounds of resources is telling the 100 pounds, give me some. So you in this powder keg. I know I'm going around the curve, but what's going to happen is, this is just my opinion. Not my opinion, but I've seen this in history. What's going to happen is there's a powder keg, and you can only keep a people down for so long. Okay? Once that happened, and I believe there's going to be a great divide in this country, to where blacks are going to separate from white. It's only so much you can take. It's only so much the whites can take. It's only so much the blacks can take. Even though I know this country was set up to be a melting pot. Give us your tired, your poor, and oh yeah, bring those blacks over here too.
Build this stuff.
Yeah, to build this stuff for all these tired, poor people. But I do believe that blacks are gonna have their own land here in America, because this is their land. There's no going back to Africa. There's no going back.
That's right.
This is their land. They blood soak this land just as much as anybody else's blood soak this land.
So.
As more so soak this land. So I believe once we separate, then we will have that black president. If we want to call him a president, we may call him a king, but we will have that her. We will have that black man or that black woman to rule. And to rule on real black issues. I think that's the way it's going to take place. But the way America is structured right now, no, I don't think we'll have a true black America. And I tell you why. Another reason I tell you why is that America have an agenda in place to reduce the population of black people. And the old slogan that majority rules, they're making sure that blacks never become the majority. But
that's what I was going to talk about next.
But okay, I won't go any further. But I do believe that there will be a king or a president or whatever we want to call him, a potentate, whatever you want to call him, a black man or black woman, once we separate.
You kind of led into what I was about to speak on. I want to know, how do you feel about the immigration that we're seeing? Because there have been so many in this short period of time, more than at any other time in history, that the Biden administration has allowed over. And I think they reported like 2.6 million, and it's still rising. And they're using a lot of the resources. They're getting free housing, and they're getting medical. They're getting food, money for food. And I even read where they were supplying them with transportation to go and come from the hotels that the United States government is paying for. So my question to you is, how do you feel about the immigration policy as it stands today, currently?
Well, right now the immigration policy is broken. As you can see if you watch the news, they don't have a policy in place to house all the immigrants that's coming over here, that's flooding this country. There's a battle between Florida and New York and Washington D.C. as to where they want to put the redhead stepchild. Not trying to put down the immigrants that's coming over here, but there's a battle between these states in order to put these people in a certain area. New York didn't want them, so they sent them to Martha Vineyard or somewhere like that. But anyway, the agenda is to make sure that blacks never become a majority.
Because you notice they sent back all of the Haitian, black people.
Yeah.
They rounded them up. They put them on airplanes and they sent them back to their country, but they are allowing these other people to come in, and they don't have those guidelines. But go ahead.
No, they don't have those guidelines. They say the Haitians came over here illegally. The 2 million immigrants that's here now are here illegally, but they're going through the process to become legal. Now that's twofold. There was a book by Dr. Andrew Hacker, I think his name was, and he spoke about how the birth rate of the white people are zero birth rate. They have zero birth rate. Their population is dwindling. So they wanted to create a secondary white race. If you notice, Mexicans on the census are considered to be white. Right. If you was to read the census, they're white. So that means that the more Mexicans come over here, more illegals come over here, the greater the white race will be as far as numbers. The greater their numbers would be. And the blacks, the blacks will remain a minority. A permanent underclass. At the same time, that's just one of the weapons that they're using. There's several weapons that they're using to make sure that blacks remain as a permanent underclass. Through immigration, through homosexuality, through birth control, and through education. Those 4 things right there, they're using to make sure that we become permanent underclass. Because brothers on the street killing each other left and right. If you look at what's going on in Chicago, what's going on in places like Detroit, Atlanta, and one of the main reasons that's going on is these brothers don't know themselves. They're not educated as to who they are. Because anything that you love, anything that has value, you take those same brothers that's killing each other out there, they wouldn't even want you to step on their Jordans. You know why? They value those Jordans. But they can go out and kill something that look exactly like their father, kill something that look exactly like their mother, kill something that look exactly like them. You know why? Because they do not value themselves. And the reason they're able to do that, because they don't value themselves, and that's because of this corrupt educational system that we have that teaches black kids that the only thing you ever were was when you got here was a slave. And they don't know their true history. So there's no value in being a black man. There's no value in being a black woman. But there's a value in Jordans. There's a value in other things. Yeah, gold chains and other things. Yeah. But those are some of the devices that they're using to make sure that we become the permanent underclass is immigration, homosexuality, birth control, and education.
So, how do we, as black people, combat becoming the permanent underclass that we know they are setting us up to become?
Well, I think we're already the permanent underclass. So you're asking how do we change the trajectory and become take our rightful place? Well, as I stated earlier, that there's 4 weapons that they're using, and there's more, but I stated 4 weapons that they're using. Is immigration. That's hardly anything that we can do about immigration because, you know, as I said, white people have they're like zero birth rate. You know, when an old person dies, a young one is born, so there's no growth. But homosexuality, if you notice that there is a growth in homosexuality in our community. One of the reasons there's a growth of homosexuality in our community is the food. The chemicals that are placed in the food, there are scientists that America pays to make sure that certain chemicals affect our genetics, and it affects certain melanies in our it affects the melanin. Melanin, yeah. And we have to be intentional about how we raise our kids, what is going into our kids' subconscious, what's going into their brains, what they're watching, what they're listening to, who they're hanging around. You know, it's just these little small, minute things that would help turn it around. You know, because environment shapes things. And it's one thing that the white power structure understand is that environment shapes things. So what they do is they send subliminal messages through our cartoons, and it's a court. Send it through our cartoons. They send it through our music and
media.
Yeah, all through media. You know, they send these messages. And of course, I said the food. You know, the food is causing black men to have more estrogen and causing black women to have more testosterone.
Okay.
So we have to start. That's when reparations come in, where we can get our own land and we can produce our own food. That's one way. And it's becoming cool in our society for young women to fall down on young women and young black men to fall down on young black men. It's becoming cool. They're making it cool.
Propaganda.
And what happened if black women fall down on black women? They can't produce. Black man falling down on black man, they can't produce. So that in turn, the black race is reduced. So that's one that they use, and that's another form of birth control.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another form of birth control that they use is I don't know if you remember back in the 1980s, there was signs all throughout the black community, birth control signs, trying to encourage the young black girls to abort their babies. If they didn't abort their babies, they could take something. It was called Norplant, and Norplant lasted I don't know, a few months, 3 months, and it was ingested in their arms, right up under the in their arms, right just above the skin there. And it was only supposed to the birth control was only supposed to last for a few months. But it's been reported that a large number of those young black women that took that Norplant are sterile now. That was just one of their plans. There are scientists in the laboratories that are being paid by the U.S. government to make sure that they maintain population control. Okay? Now, if the government was to just come out and just forthrightly just gun us down, or just gun any, just any race, just gun us down, the surface dwellers would say, that's wrong. They would say that that's population control. You know why? Because they can see it with one of they using one of their senses. That's their eyesight. Excuse me. That's their eyesight. They're using that one sense. Those are your surface dwellers. But the government is actually paying scientists to make sure that there is population control, and make sure that it is so covert that there would be absolutely no signs that nobody could detect it.
I believe that to be true.
And of course, brothers gotta have unity. They gotta love themselves. If they just love themselves, black people just love themselves, they'll stop killing themselves. Stop killing themselves through homosexuality, lesbianism, the ABC group, and stop killing themselves through all types of food.
Unhealthy behavior.
Unhealthy behavior. Thank you. They're correct. And it all stems from education, loving yourself, knowing exactly who you are. Because if you value yourself like a pair of Jordans, you know, you step on them Jordans, brother gonna wipe them down.
Those Crocs.
Those Crocs, they're gonna wipe them down.
Or kill you.
That's right. You need to have that same type of love for yourself. Feel that same value for your brother and for your sister. And those are some of the things that we're going to have to do in order to curtail this government agenda that they have against us.
There is an upcoming reparations rally that is scheduled for November 5th in Washington, D.C. It is an attempt by black people, a group of people, to try to bring attention to the need for reparations and for tangibles for black people. Are you in support of this rally? How do you feel about that?
Oh, most definitely. I'm in support of that rally. I won't be able to go, but if I was able to go, I would definitely be in the crowd. But anytime there's a reparation rally, we should try and be there.
Right.
You know, whether anything come out of the rally, the very fact that it's in the atmosphere. All you got to do is just put it in the atmosphere. And that spirit that comes from that rally, it won't die. Once energy is generated, that energy never dies. So every reparational rally, we need to be there with love in our hearts for our fellow man, our fellow woman, all people. What I mean is you should have love for all people, but stick to the agenda. Be there with love in your heart, no malice, and stick to the agenda. Stick to what you went there for. And once that energy is released from Washington, D.C., that energy may spark and hit a brother in Oklahoma, spark and hit a sister in Jackson, Mississippi, because that energy never dies. That energy goes from one mind to the next. You know, our next brother to have the next rally, he may be in Georgia somewhere. But most definitely, I support that rally. There should be more rallies like it. Keep having the rallies, keep pushing. And just because you don't see anything happening, don't mean that it's not happening.
That's right.
Because when a flower grows, you never see that flower move. But what makes that flower grow is still working.
That's right.
And you just happen to pop up one day and just see that flower. Just like if you just keep working, keep pushing reparation, keep going to the reparation movements, keep talking reparations, and you're going to step outside one day and see that reparation flower in full bloom.
Yes, sir. I want to thank you, Be Unity, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and speak with me. And I have a final question for you. Will you be voting?
Well, no, I won't be voting in the midterm elections. And the reason being is none of the politicians are really speaking to anything that I want to vote for. You know, one thing I've noticed is whether it's a Republican or whether it's a Democrat, you know, you've got to have an issue that something that you want to see a change in or with. But one thing I've noticed whether it's a Republican, Democrat, or a independent, I don't really see a change. You know, at one point, when I was in grammar school, I was asked, we had to go home and do a study on the Great Depression. We had to ask our grandparents about the Great Depression and how did they survive the Great Depression. So I asked my grandmother, I asked her, I said, how did you, we got to do this report, Grandmama, and how did you all survive the Great Depression? She said, we didn't know it was a Great Depression. I said, well, how did you all eat? She said, well, we just went out in the yard and got a chicken or went in the garden and got a, some vegetables and we ate. I said, you didn't know it was a Great Depression? She said, no, we didn't know it was a Great Depression. The Great Depression affected people that was at a certain economic level. It affected them. So if you notice, for black people, whether you're a Democrat, whether it's a Republican or an independent, nothing really changes.
That's right. That's
So
facts.
nothing really changes. So I don't see anything in this election that I need to vote for.
And on that note, I want to thank you for joining me today, Brother Be Unity 411, and I want to invite you to come back as often as you would like to. Thank you very much for joining me. And I want to thank all of you who are listening to like, share, and leave your comment in regards to this topic. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you next time on Discussions with Dena.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share.